Welcome to podcast number 78. And this week is our special week because we gonna run down the final top 30 again. So basically we're gonna do listing our top 50 like individual list of top 50 the final time, and then we're gonna come up with the choice top 30 list.
Right. I mean, all that work's already been done. We have a Google sheet up here that we're going to be referencing. But there'll be lots of time for discussion. Yeah.
Yep. Are you excited about this, Trooper?
Am I excited about what we're about to talk about, or about like the final list that we already have?
The final list.
Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty good. Obviously, there are some shows on there that shouldn't be on there, but that's okay.
All right. I think he meant of Stangate and Flip Flappers, which is only on my list. But I'm happy with the list personally. So
I'm cool
Good.
with Flip Flappers being on there. I wish that Steins Gate had been excluded.
right. Well, too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, and we haven't mentioned about the Monogatari series.
Well, I knew. I had already resigned myself to the fact that was going to be on the list. But there's plenty of great shows on here, including some of the ones you just mentioned.
Yep.
So yeah, looks good. The honorable mentions look good. Feels good, man. Time to make a video about it.
Yep. Alright, so first we're gonna do the anime book report, which we're gonna talk about the two shows that we either watch or rewatch from the other person's person list. So for that, I watched to the completion of Hunter x Hunter. Just finished it yesterday though.
Right.
And Hyoge Mono, which I still haven't finished.
Man, those are
sadly.
the two you did last time.
Yep.
You've been slacking.
Man,
All right. So what did you think about what?
how many episode of Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah, that's true. You
It's,
had to watch the whole Chimera Ant arc plus the election arc.
yeah. So what did you ask? What do I think about this show?
Yeah. Well, Hunter x Hunter or Hyogemono, whatever.
All right. Hunter x Hunter. I finished the Chimera act. I think that was a solid act. I didn't think that it's like the best shonen act ever, like the majority of anime fandom says. It has some very good moments. It I'm quite surprised by how this act like end up, like how it's wrap up everything, like the fact that Gon and the king haven't even met, haven't even see each other face to face, haven't even not know each other. That's like the one basic thing that shonen show always does, like get our main characters to face the super villains. Not here. I like that.
Yeah, there isn't really a supervillain. I mean,
Yeah,
you
that's
you
true.
spend so much time observing each of the ants.
Mhm.
Even Meruem, who's like, you think of him at the start as being like pure evil,
Yeah.
but you learn over time that there's not a humanity to him, but there
Mhm.
is a life to him and a spark to him that is that's the thing about the Chimera Ant arc is like we're tempted to label any sort of sentient life with human qualities like self-awareness and the capacity for like understanding and even for love as human.
Mhm.
But I think the Chimera Ant arc is making the point that those traits don't belong to just us.
Yeah, that's right. That and it's a good thing that yeah, I did have an issue though with like at first with how they portray the king and the three gods. the two royal guards, because they appear to be really evil at first. Like the king, the first thing he did was kill some of his undercurrents and just left the mothers there to die.
Yeah.
But then like it grows his characters. It's developed his character a lot. Not even him, like with all the other ants as well, like you mentioned. Um, I love what I lost what I just was about to say. Either. All right.
Well, there's 148 episodes to muddle your brain.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Um, I
mean,
love the way that the humans, doesn't really come off as evil either. So it's not really like a criticism of like the human race. It does it's does do that a bit though, like the way that gone basically go possessed,
yeah.
and the fact that like the atomic bomb. It's not the atomic bomb. It's the bomb, the rose bomb
Right.
that basically kill the. I think like
The king,
the
Meroweb.
the king, like before that is kill like the humanities. So there is there is some hint of our of like the real life of like the current age that we live in now. There's some like very criticize about that, but the show doesn't really go overboard with that,
A lot of people think that the Chimera Ant arc is like an explicit criticism of like the path that humanity is on, like
Yep.
developing weapons of mass destruction and
Well,
stamping out other species.
Yep. It that makes sense. It criticized in North Korea for one thing, and the nuclear weapon and stuff. So it does. I'm glad that it doesn't really like go overboard with that.
Yeah. Huh. I don't know if I would have said that, like, but it's been quite a while since I've seen the show. Like that it doesn't go overboard, because that's one of the main takeaways that I had from the arc. Not as though I thought it was like overbearing or distasteful or anything, but that's just one of the
Obvious.
that's just one of the big sticking points, like one of the elements that really leaps out of my memory, and also is involved in so much of the discussion surrounding the show. But hey, that's good if you didn't think it was like humans are bad.
Yep.
Don't
Ye-
don't use
Yeah.
don't use nukes.
All right. We have seen worse in anime.
Well, I'm thinking specifically of like Shiki. Oh,
Right.
who's the real monster? Is it the humans or the vampires?
Right. Shiki make that ambiguous as well. I like the way I like the approach of Shiki, actually, to the whole human and vampire thing. Because we see like the first like 15 episode of like vampire overpowering, and so that when the human strike back, um it feel gained, in a way that they just fight the evil monsters, and don't be sensitive to like how they kill the all the vampires, because they don't think that the vampires are human. So I think that makes sense, like it the way it's approached.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, both of us had it on our list here, and it's going to be in our eventual top 30. So obviously, we didn't think it was too preachy or heavy-handed or anything like that. But I do think that, like in Hunter x Hunter, the length of the Chimera Ant arc, and the number of characters there are, and the number of opportunities there are for some of the ants to learn and change, and for humans to interact with them, to meet them, and like fight against them, and also fight with them in some cases, is it gives like more opportunities for a shared perspective between the two races.
Right.
Whereas in Shiki, it really is just like chaos and madness kind of overtake that small, like isolated hidden village.
Yep. Yeah, talking about the length, I don't think it deserves its 60 something episode length because I think the show have a lot of fillers.
Well,
Like the
that's the
moment
thing. I don't think
when
there is any filler. Filler is like stuff that's not in the
uh,
manga.
right.
I
All
don't think there
right.
was any of that.
Let me just say that there's a lot of roundabout to the act. So we have like Ron and Killua go uh go outside of the of the village, like of the battlefield, to basically just like improve the strength, meet up a new host of characters. So it's just roundabout, you know. That's what I feel when I see that act, that delay, that
What are you talking about?
threat.
Like when they're in the forested area?
No. So remember the moment when Kite saved them and lost his arm and eventually lost his life with Pitu.
Yeah.
So Killua and Gon basically just escape that battlefield, go out to go out to the village to meet like all the new characters. Remember that,
Okay, this is where my memory starts to get
and
hazy.
train themselves again to get their strength back and to just improve, just power up basically.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really remember that.
All right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds kind of
I
lame,
I
but
I, I mm, I make it sound lame, but yeah, I'm not fan of that. And that's that's the one where we see the whole new characters, which they are quite good actually, but they still,
oh wait, I think I know what
um
you're.
the
I know who you're talking about. This is where you meet
yeah
like
yeah
Palm and Shoot and Knuckle and stuff.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
I mean, those
And
are all great
Palm,
characters, though.
yeah. Well, its Palm is so unpredictable, like the way
Yeah,
that the mangaka done with her characters.
yeah, but the way how she ends up is really interesting. Like the conclusion
Yeah,
of her character arc, I suppose, or just who or what she ends up becoming is quite interesting.
right. Uh, and I will give the brief time left to mention about the last act.
There's no time left. It's been going for 10
The,
minutes. Just like wrap it up real fast, I
or,
guess.
right. The final act was really good. I really enjoyed the final act. All right. Um. He he'll get.
I'll do one now.
All right. Yep. Please go on.
I've got my rewatch document here. You know,
Yeah.
I've been
Cool.
rewatching all kinds of stuff. I've probably rewatched like 30 shows over the course of this year. Um, the one I most recently finished rewatching, actually, just yesterday, was the Tatami Galaxy.
Right.
Um, and I did enjoy it, although I feel like I've kind of overrated it on this list.
Huh.
So
Right.
I still have it in my top 10, but I think looking at it, if I were to be a little more honest with myself, I would put it around number maybe 12 or 13.
Well.
But I didn't want to drop it out of the top 10 real fast and like blindside you
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like the rankings, you know.
Right.
Um,
Uh.
so like what if we do this again like for Starcrossed or something?
Yep.
I think Tatami Galaxy is probably not going to fall inside my top 10. And the reason for that is I think in the first 5 episodes, there are a couple that really did not engage me or like hold my attention. Obviously, 6 through 8 are incredible. That's the trilogy where he's caught
Yep.
between the 3 girls.
Yep.
That the way those stories are all woven together is like just awesome. It's like mind
Right.
bending.
Yep.
And then obviously episodes 10 and 11 are fantastic because that's where the Tatami Galaxy, like the extent of the Tatami Galaxy, um, like the infinite Tatami prison, is revealed.
Mm.
But I think that they're like I don't know which episodes in particular. The Birdman episode I really remember liking a lot more than I did this time.
Right.
Um, like there's a thrill to the moment when Jogasaki-san is exposed as like the like a having the breast fetish in episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm.
the one where he joins the movie circle. Like
Yep.
there's a kind of a thrill to that moment. Because Watashi, the protagonist, he's often on like missions and stuff to expose somebody or to help someone or to serve as somebody's what is he? What am I trying to say right now? In episode I think 4,
Yep.
what
The
what is
the
he to
the
Higuchi?
he's like the long time rival.
No,
Like
no.
through no
What just
through
it's like a regular word that I'm struggling to come up with right now. What is it? He's not a servant. He's an apprentice or something.
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
He's
Mm-hmm.
often like apprenticing or helping someone or on a mission or something, and I feel like the show really needs to hit a specific high note during those stories in order for them to be
Mm-hmm.
memorable because all the stories kind of bleed together, owing to like the nature of the show, because they are
Mm-hmm.
all interlinked, and that's one of the best things about it is that there's references to other stories and other episodes within each episode. You kind of
Yep.
see how all the stories are threaded together, and also the ways in which they differ. But like, I didn't feel as though there was a big wow moment in episode
Mm-hmm.
3 because he just takes over Ozu's job as the head of the cycling uh, repo
Mm-hmm.
organization. Like they're stealing the bicycles and stuff. He takes over in the trench coat so fast, and then immediately Akashi is there, and she's like, "What have you done?" You know, he's caught kind of with his pants down next to the Birdman contraption.
Yep.
So that just felt like everything came together kind of haphazardly. And then episode 4, the proxy war, I also that one I was not engaged at all
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. Like you see there's a shot of all of the when they're about to play rock paper scissors, which is a funny
Mm-hmm.
concept for sure. Like the proxy war is really just over a game of rock paper scissors, like generations ago. Uh,
Yep.
you see the all the past lives, I suppose, or the
Mm-hmm.
representations above the characters of how long this grudge has been going, which is really brilliant visual direction. Um, but like I don't know, I didn't feel as though the grudge between the actual two men in the present was that well realized. We didn't spend much time learning anything about Jogasaki in that episode.
Yeah. Well.
And so much of it was
Or.
spent on the search for like the tortoise brush, like the scrub brush. I don't know if you remember
Uh huh.
this. Uh, he and Akashi end up going around town asking all the different like vendors in the marketplace about this brush that Higuchi wants him to get.
All right.
That
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that felt like a little bit of a too big of a detour for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Overall, I was not like glued to the screen during some of these episodes. Um,
Right.
However, I
Well,
still think the show is
because
really clever, you know, and a lot of fun.
yep. Because when I see like the list of our like our list together, and I see like like all the shows individually. Tatami Galaxy is the show that I didn't expect you to think that it's not hold up anymore. So
Well, I mean,
Tatami Galaxy
I
is
would still put it in my top 15, I think.
right. Yep.
But I didn't want
For
to
me,
like drop
Tatami
it off too much
Galaxy
and
is
have
like
you be like, "Ah, what are you doing? Why is it so low?"
what?
Yeah, I didn't want to I didn't want to
I
do
gotta
that.
do that. uh, yeah. So Tatami Galaxy is just like a yearly event for me, basically. So like, I watch it every year for the show, because that's just how brilliant, how rewatchable Tatami Galaxy is. And every time it still hold up. So every time I see something new, so every time it's bring me some kind of other emotions. It it's for me a great show, that a show that I would watch over and over again.
Yeah, that you could definitely notice something new every time you watch this show. Probably more than any other, because it's just
Yeah,
so packed with detail, and
that's
the
right.
episodes link together so creatively. Although
Yep.
I got the sense watching that they don't all fit together. Like
Mm,
there's links between many of them for sure, but I feel like there are a couple that are incongruous with some of the others. So like accepting, I guess, that they don't all fit together perfectly kind of allows you to think of it less as a big puzzle box and more as you know, just a framework for the show to be like as wacky and as creative and as playful as it can be.
yep.
But I think like having rewatched the show, I think I can say that I
Mm,
prefer The Night is Short, Walk On Girl to the actual series.
wow. Right.
I
Wow.
definitely like the art
Be-
better in Night is Short. I like the use of color a lot better. It doesn't look so washed out. Um,
yep. I
but I do
wouldn't
think that
know.
some of the monochromatic shots in Tatami Galaxy are really good. Like the
Yep.
the screen going completely red when he's in the bathroom in episodes 6 through 8, like
Yep. Yep.
hiding from the dental hygienist.
Yep.
And then whenever he's talking to
Yeah.
Akashi, it's like all yellows, um,
Yep.
representing like I think springtime. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
gray when he's imprisoned in the Tatami Galaxy, and it slowly starts to
Mm-hmm.
gain color as he moves between rooms. And then when he finally emerges into the outside world, Ozu is like dressed in bright
Yep.
green and wearing the yellow wig. Like he recognizes that the way Ozu lives is what he wants to embrace. Like he wants to live to the fullest, and he literally embraces him on top of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so really great use of color in the show, I think, but I prefer the way the
Mm-hmm.
Night is Short Walk on Girl looks.
I wonder though, like not now, few years from now, when you rewatch the Night Shot, how would you feel?
Well,
It maybe you have the same feeling with Tatami Galaxy now.
it's possible, but Night is Short was my favorite anime of last year.
Last year, 2 years ago.
Oh, was
Last year,
it?
yep, all right, whatever. Yep.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think it's like 2017. I don't know when the DVDs come out, so
Yeah.
when we really watch it.
Whatever year I watched it in, it was my favorite anime of that year.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite anime movies of the decade for sure.
Yeah, it's very good. All right, I probably spent way
Um,
too long talking about that.
all right, next show for me. If we're not strictly talking about the show that from the other person list,
Well,
I
I
would
think we
say
are,
all right.
but
Yep. All right.
I mean that's
So
what's listed here on the. But what was it you wanted to talk about?
all right. I want to talk about Psychopaths because I rewatched the first season of Psychopaths.
Well, that's on my list, so it's
Uh,
fine.
is it?
Yeah.
It's on your list. That's right. Um, so Psychopaths improved a lot for me from the first time I watched it. The first time I watched it, I thought it was trying too hard. It was just trying to making the point, like repeatedly banging your head with, this is the point, this is the point that, I feel my head burst. This
Oh,
this time,
well, I mean, people's heads literally burst in that show. People
I
blow up.
I mean literally, yes.
Yeah.
I don't mean literally to me, but yes. Um, yeah, this time though, it's hold up like I still see it as like really obvious, but like the world building that Chen Urobuchi built up is still holding up. Like all the moral themes he tried to raise are always on point. And like in some moment, like I remember like in the end of the first core, uh, when the main villain, sorry, I don't remember the name, cut the throat of Akane friends.
Yeah.
That was really intense.
Yeah, it was.
So it's still insane now that I even when I know the outcomes. So it overall it worked out fine, and that's why I had it listed here at like the
Number
honorable
60.
mention as well. Well,
Yeah.
it it used to be I think like out of the 100, so it's improved. It's like in 40 place with
Okay.
that.
That's pretty significant. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is significant. All right, what is your other shows?
Yurikuma Arashi.
Yep,
I rewatched this and I kicked it off my honorable
it's a bit
mentions
tricky to
list.
talk about. All right.
What's tricky?
It's tricky to always talk about his show. Yuri
I
Kuma
just lost you
Arashi,
completely for a
Sarazamite.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, Ikuhara. I lost you completely for a second, but you're back. Yeah, it's hard to
Right.
discuss Ikuhara shows. We podcasted Sarazan My Weekly recently, which
Mhm.
was, that helps because then you're able to get your thoughts out about it each week. But
Mhm.
just watching an Ikuhara show and trying to condense it, I mean, it's kind of paradoxical that it's so difficult to talk about because the episodes repeat themselves so often. You'd think it would be easier, but instead, it's more difficult
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
like the amount of stuff that he tries to weave into an individual episode is very large. It's a lot. Um,
Yep.
but I think the problem that I had with Yuri Kuma this time was that not enough was going on.
Not enough.
The repetition was hard for me to deal with, um,
Mhm.
as opposed to the way it was used in Penguin Drum and Sarazanmai,
Mhm.
both of which were more fun. Uh,
Mhm.
Yurikuma takes itself pretty seriously. Obviously,
Mhm.
the court of judgment or whatever with the bears, who all are dressed in like the judge's robes and have the middle one has the gavel and stuff. Like what are their names?
Right.
Life cool, life sexy, and
Yeah.
life is the middle one. Life judgment. I don't remember.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
Obviously, that's ridiculous, and there's clearly like a big undercurrent of humor going on in those scenes. But apart from that, the show takes itself like deadly seriously, um, and I was not a big fan of that. There
Mhm.
are a couple great episodes. Episode 4 is amazing. That's the one that focuses on Lulu. It tells it like a fairy tale,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and you learn about her origins as like a princess, and how
Mhm.
she killed the prince or attempted to,
Mhm.
because he was like gaining social status and she was losing the love of the people and of her parents and all that. Uh, that was like a standalone episode that deviated from the format that I thought was great. But it's kind of telling that that's the one I loved the most because it was it was like so different from the rest.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so the uh, the regular plot of like the we got to be afraid of the bears. They're going to come to eat somebody. Um, the reveal that the teacher was a bear. Obviously I knew it was coming, so that kind of lessens the
Mhm.
impact. But I really did not feel very much when it turned out that she was a bear. The show like leans into it a little bit too much, I think, and the way that her past is tied up with what's the main girl's name? Kureha. The way that her past is tied up with Kureha's mom was not that
Mhm.
interesting to me. Um, I don't know. Like it's weird that I didn't like it as much because what was lacking in Sarazanmai was like detail about the war between the Kappa and the Otters. Whereas in Yurikuma, what you get a lot of the conflict between bears and humans, like
Mhm.
the way it worked in the history of it and the way that it's kind of extended into the present. But I
Mhm.
think the characters kind of suffer as a result. because
Right.
they're also fixated on just one thing. I
Mm.
think in Sarazanmai, which is very similar to Yurikuma, you get more rounded characters, even though they're not like fantastic in that show either.
Mm.
So I just like I was really disappointed with Yurikuma watching it again through. Like I
Mm.
don't even think I would put it in my top 5 of 2015 at this point.
Wow. All right. Wow. That's a big statement. Um, it's been a while that I watched the show, but I just feel that the show doesn't have the like Ikuhara's shows always feel grand in like emotions, and like feel epic as well for like all these the all the presentation, all the visual that he got and the feeling. And this one just doesn't feel epic enough. Like out of all the four shows that he had been directed,
I would say that Sarazanmai also feels pretty small.
the ending though it feel a bit grander than this one. That's
Did
what I
it?
feel. Yep.
Well, in my notes on Yurikuma, I literally wrote for episode 12, which is the final installment.
Yep.
I wrote, actually, let me let me look it up. It's right
Right.
here. Just use Google if you want to remember what the ending was like. I'm too disappointed to write 3 sentences about it. That's what I wrote down.
All right. All
Um,
right. I
I
will
mean,
Google it.
I think that Sarazanmai was kind of like the whole, like I said, the the detail in the Kappa versus Otter conflict was kind of
Yep.
lacking, and so as a result, I felt that the conclusion of Sarazanmai was lacking. However, I did really like the presentation of the last episode, like the way that they fell through the
Mhm.
different layers of memory. Um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
that I thought was really interesting. Whereas I can't even like I watched Yuri Kuma just a couple months ago at this point, and I can't even call details about the final episode to mind. I know it's kind of similar to Utena in that they leave behind the
Yep.
city,
Uh-huh.
but it's only that like that broad detail that I can remember, or that broad plot point that I can remember.
Mm.
So
Yep.
I was really disappointed watching it again. I mean, although I do think that you can tell that there are moments where it's brilliant. Like there is at least one really great episode, and I think there was another, but I've talked about it too long at this point.
All right. I think that's it's time for us to move into the next session,
Okay.
which is what changed. Which show are new to our top 50.
Yeah, this is going to
All
be a
right.
short section, isn't it?
Yep. All right. For me though, I need to say that I keep the same my top 50, but there are two shows that I haven't finished watching, so I don't feel like that I should put them in my top 50 until I finish it. Those two shows though have a potential to break through, and those two are Hyogo Mono and Beastars, the from a very current seasons.
All right, you want to say anything about them a little bit?
Yeah, Hyogo Monos. I have the style and the subject matter so different from everything that I seen in anime, and
Yeah.
for that, I'm really glad that I give this a watch. The fact that it actually become unpredictable. Like spoiler alert, someone important died at like in episode 10. Really completely take my breath away. I don't even know like where the show will go in from there, but it's just so different and smart and mature
Well, that's
at the same
that's the
time.
thing. Like, I don't think it is mature. Um, I know what you
Well,
mean by that. Like the subject matter is it's a historical show, obviously, and there are
all
some.
right. I understand what you mean. I think I meant to say that it's mature because it shows the immaturity of the main characters.
That's why it's mature.
Is That's why it's mature.
Okay, I'm a little I'm
It's
a little
no about that,
confused on that.
I think it's aware of that and it's make fun of that and it's use his immaturity to to see to uh display how I just think that
What do you
despite the
think?
immaturity of the main character, the show itself is mature.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
For
making important
Beastars,
statements about.
yep.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Go on, go on.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
yeah,
go
I,
on, go on.
I think it makes important statements about greed and uh,
Yep.
devotion, the sort of things that people will get invested in and like lay down their lives for, even. And
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it does it very specifically and like critically through a historical lens. Like
Mm-hmm.
the things that people get obsessed with in Hyogemono are so strange and so alien to us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but if we had been born at a different time, it could have been us.
Yep.
I think it's making a larger statement than just what were people into back then. What earned their passion back then, but just in general, like the lengths that people will go to for the things they love, however crazy they might be.
Yep. And the other show for me is Beastar. At the moment, I feel like each episode is it's getting deeper into its themes, and I like all the characters. I like all the conflict that the show has been developing so far. Waiting for the end to land, but at this rate, I expect it on the the top 50 list when I finish it.
All right. Well, very good. My thoughts about Beastars are clear to anybody who has listened to our podcast.
Yes.
I'm not going to bother bringing them up here. I'll just say that
Right.
it's not on my top 50 list or my honorable mentions.
Yep. Yep.
But there's
All
still
right.
time. There's still time. I
Yep.
haven't seen what is it on now? Episode 9, right? Or
Yep.
okay.
The last one was really good.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet. I think I have it downloaded though. I always wait for PAS to come out with their subs.
Right.
So I think I just downloaded it recently.
All right. Talking about yours now.
There are no new shows on my list. So I'm just going to
Right.
skip that. However, I
However.
can talk about which shows on my list had the biggest increases or decreases in rank. That's one of the questions here in this section.
Yep.
I already
Go for it.
spoke a little bit about how I think the Tatami Galaxy would fall out of my top 10 if I were just making
Yep.
my own list that's not attached to
Redo
anyone
it.
else's. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's the way we should have done our list to
Right.
begin with. They should have just been our individual ones.
Yep.
But, I didn't want you to be like, it's the best show. How could you drop it out of the top 10? I would change that one. One show that Hello?
Sorry. Go on. Go on. Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
One show that improved in my estimation was Suritama.
All right. Yep.
Because I was taking notes on all these shows, or not taking notes, but just writing up very small, very brief post-episode impressions for a lot of the stuff I rewatched.
Wow.
And in my top 10, I rewatched I think 7 out of these, 7 out of these
Mhm.
top 10 shows. I did not rewatch Sangatsu, Tsukigakire. No, I guess I did 8. And Suritama is the only one apart from Mushishi where I wrote down that I thought that there were
Improve.
multiple like masterpiece tier episodes.
Yep.
So Suritama definitely went up a bit in my estimation. I think I had it at 9th before. Now it's at 6th, and that's only 3 spots,
Yep.
but it's 3 spots within the very upper echelons of the list.
That-
So.
That's right. Yep. They're impressive.
Tatami Galaxy slipped down to number 9 for me, so it's kind of like those two shows traded places, a little bit.
Or yep.
What else?
Any other big change on outside of the top 10?
Yeah, I dropped Space Battleship Yamato 2199 a few spots. I
Right,
think
30
it
now.
was I think it was at like 26 or 27 before. Obviously, like not a huge change, but just piggybacking on the disappointment
Yep.
that I expressed with it. last time in October when we talked about it.
Yep.
I just that like negative impression. Honestly, it could just keep slipping down this list. We could end up in like the
Yeah.
bottom 10. Um,
Um, I'm actually interested to see like how our list would be like a month from now.
I think mine would
Like
be pretty much the
with
same. Tatami Galaxy would drop a
without
bit.
yeah without like the any attachment to the choice list, I think that it would turn out to be a bit different.
Oh, mine would be like mostly the same except for Tatami Galaxy. This is
Yep.
this is definitely just my list.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
All right. Gotcha.
but yeah, Yamato, whatever, slipped a bit. There was a small rearrangement that I made near the very bottom. Uh,
Yep.
Natsuyuki Rendezvous, I bumped up one spot, and Sadasanmai, I bumped down one. Just
Uh-huh.
because Sadasanmai, like, the end, like, the very end, the conclusion of the series just felt kind of wimpy to me. Like, he jumps off the bridge into the water. Why'd he do that?
Yep.
I remember our conversation about that. Like, why would he do that? And I've obviously there's the like the metaphor of water as like a cleansing agent, you know, like a fresh start, whatever.
I
But just the characters felt thin
Yep.
enough that that moment didn't totally compute, and that has kind of stuck with me, despite the fact that I think the show does so many other things right, especially in the first
Mhm.
half. The first half I thought was completely brilliant, like Penguin Drum Tear.
Yep.
Uh, so I just swapped those two because I really like Natsuyuki Rendezvous. It kind of has the
Mhm.
same problems as Sada Mai. Like obviously the characters are more fleshed out, at least in my opinion, but the
Yep.
ending is not as strong as what comes before.
Have you rewatched Natsuyuki Rendezvous this year
I
though?
did. I watched it this year,
Right.
yes.
Mm.
And actually that's what
Nice.
prompted me to put it on the list. It wasn't on there before. So like some of the
Right.
changes at the start of this year, I had Girls Last Tour,
Mhm.
Tanaka-kun,
Nice
Soremachi,
too.
Orange,
Yep.
Akatsuki no Yona. All five of those shows were on this list, and they all got bumped
Yep.
off for various stuff. I have three
Did you
2019 shows, and I have a couple that I put on
Sorry,
as a
did you
result of
just mention
rewatching.
Akatsuki no Yona?
Yeah,
Oh right. Wow.
that was originally
All
on my
right.
top 50. Like at the end of 2018, let's
Yep.
say that was on my list. It was near the bottom, but it was on there.
Mm. Got that. All right. Anything else?
Well, how about you? What any big
All right.
changes
Yep.
in rank for you? Like the
All
same
right.
question.
I had some. Um. All right. Within my top 10, those they're basically the same except for one change, which is humanity has declined one up. So it beating flip flappers now, taking its place.
Okay.
I have just finished Hunter x Hunter, so that's why I pump that up into from 20 yet to 15 now.
Okay.
Another shonen show though drop a bit for me is JoJo Bizarre Adventure. I don't feel as high as I was before, so it's sliding down a bit. And
That went down 8 spots. That's a lot.
yeah, a bit. And the way I'm making my top 50 this time is more like I will group these show all of my show into like 10 10 10, a group of 10. So that's why I will basically ask the question where like which are the show, for example, which are the show that I really want to be in just on my top 30. So that's why like a lot of the show from like 19 ranking 1920 or 2930, they are changed a bit from last time because that is the show that I really want to include on my top 30, top 40, top 20, etc. So as you can see, like after the rain or Oregairu, the two shows that on my top of respected year was in my number 29 and 30 because of that. I think it's improved from last list. Let's say the last list what I got from these two show
The two of them
was
just went up 2 spots,
just
or
spot. Yeah,
one
so
one one spot.
31st and 32nd. Yeah, well, yep.
No, looking
Um,
here, they were 30th and 31st. I'm looking at the October 6th ballot. Here, I don't know
30th.
if you're on the Google Doc, you can. I'm highlighting
Oh
them.
yeah. So one spot, but
Yeah.
I really wanted to include them on my top 30.
Right, I got you. Yeah.
Um, the same thing with Mob Psycho 100 Chan killing. So you can say that between number 40 and 41 there is actually a big gap.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
30 and 31.
go ahead. Go on.
Yeah, and 20 and 21, like Shirobaku and Duseki drop, there is like a light between them. From within the top 10 though, it basically more like shuffle around. Like I just feel like, oh, this one I feel more fun of it now than the other one. So like I would say like in other in other time though, these the change within the 10, the group of 10 might change, just depend on how I feel at the time.
Yeah, that's the thing about making these lists, is that it really is just like time dependent, mood dependent. What have you seen recently? What have you been thinking
Right.
about, talking about recently? It really is like, it's totally
Yep.
subjective. And a lot of people get like
Yeah,
really
that's true.
into these sorts of lists, and they go nuts about them, and they want the ranking to be perfectly ordered and like quote unquote objective.
Yep.
But it's if I were to do this today instead of yesterday, the list would have been different. Like
That
just ever so
is
slightly.
true.
But if you give it a
Yep.
year, there's going to be massive changes.
That's right.
So that's why it's good to have more than one person doing this, and you can kind of average it out, because otherwise your list is just completely unreliable.
Well,
Not that it could
it
ever actually be like totally reliable.
yeah, it's supposed to be. I think like any list supposed to be changed at times. It's supposed to be like not permanently, because our objectives change, our taste change, our opinion change. So it should be like upgraded like
Yeah.
every year or so.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'm.
I
Go ahead.
understand that. Yeah, I think I understand that. I on the other hand, understand why people need to be, like every single thing have to be exactly in place. But that's just impossible.
Yeah. Give us a
Yep.
break. So nothing.
All right.
I noticed that you flipped around Rakugo and Tatami Galaxy.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
All right. Huh. All right. I didn't even I didn't even realize that. I
That's
thought that I got disordered
that's subconscious right there.
the last time, but yeah, but I'm cool with that.
It wouldn't
I'm cool with having
change.
show. I wouldn't change.
Well, looking at the points total here, it wouldn't change the final top 30.
Because you
Rakugo would
next.
Rakugo
Yep.
would still be in second, and then Tatami Galaxy, even if it went up a point, would still be in fourth.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
So what else is there to talk about in this section? I mean we've pretty much covered it. Any other changes? Let me look through. Let's see if I can spot any big changes here.
Right. I
Mob
think I got like cell euphonium up, but let me
Yes,
check.
you did. I took note of that, because last time I took note of the fact that UFO was lower than I would have
Yeah,
expected.
29 to 24. Oh, one show that I did drop a bit out is Concrete Revolution Tour. From this new list is 37. Let's
Yeah.
see the old list.
It's 33 on the old list.
33 to 37. Yes, it's not that much, but I did drop it quite a bit.
Why'd you do that?
Some
Because I made
it
fun of it for being incomprehensible.
no. It's ambitious for sure. with at intent, but it's also a mess.
Yeah, it is.
And a mess is sometimes that mess is a bit too big to ignore. So thinking back, I was like, all right. Some of it messy though was bullshit. So
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy mess, as you said.
All right. So I said before that I would put my bottom two as do Rara and River Starlight. Now Anohana slipped down to that spot. So if ever I finish the two other shows and they are end up in my top 50, River Starlight gonna stay. So that's
I see.
a big statement between River Starlight and Anohana. The big
Well,
difference.
I suppose that it is, but a year down the line, the show
Yep.
like Starlight will probably
That's
get kicked off in favor of something else, or Anohana can
that's
come back
true.
on or whatever. But yeah, I see what you're
Uh,
saying. You took into account which one you wanted to remain.
yep. Or maybe in the a year from now though, I just watch something completely blow my mind from this decade, like I can even say Attack on Titan. Maybe maybe my feeling with that improved. A year from now.
Yeah,
That I said like definitely I must put that on my top 50. Maybe in number 25. Maybe in number 10.
yeah. You're gonna see the light. You're gonna realize that anime Spider-Man with screaming Yuki Kaiji voiced main character Eren is worthy of a top 50 spot. Yeah. Oh man, it's so
Yeah.
hype. It's just so hype.
Yeah. Now I understand the hype.
Your eyes will be open,
Yeah,
dude.
something along that lines.
Then everyone will be happy with your list. Except they'll also want, I don't know, fucking Demon Slayer or whatever. You put
All
Attack on
right.
Titan on, you invite the the control of the masses.
All right. I have a question for you, though. I hope that it doesn't take too much of our time.
Okay.
From personally though, from my top 50 list, pick one of the show that you think the worst.
Out of the entire top 50 list, one I think is the worst.
Yep. My top 50.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna start at the bottom, and I'm gonna say which one I think is the worst, and I'm gonna scroll up and see if I can't find anything else.
I think I had the answer though.
Durarara, I
Just-
didn't even finish, so that's gonna
Alright.
that's gonna kick things off.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't finished Thunderbolt Fantasy, but that was less because I didn't like it and more because of another issue I had with it.
Right.
So far, it's still Durarara. Obviously, I was pretty disappointed in Yuri Kuma, but I still think there's still enough to
deserving
admire
it.
about the show. Okay.
Right.
Kyoso Gega, when we did the rewatch, I was like, meh.
Ew. Understand your point. Nichichu.
Nichijou, yeah, definitely not a fan of Nichijou. I'm going to say Nichijou is going to take... Oh, Oregairu. I'm pretty sure
Alright.
it's going to be Oregairu in the end.
All right.
Let me keep scrolling
Just flip up.
Scrolling up. Wasn't crazy about A Woman Called Fujiko Mine, although I think that show started really ridiculously strong.
Right.
Definitely episodes I love in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big fan of Hoseki no Kuni, but again, plenty to admire about it.
Yep.
Flip Flappers, not a big fan, but I respect the ambition at the very least. Monogatari series. Okay, I would say probably Monogatari series.
All right.
And Oregairu as the other choice, definitely.
All right. I thought that you would pick Stand Yet.
Oh, yeah. I don't really. I mean, when I rewatched Steins Gate most recently, which I think was 2 years ago.
Right.
There's a part of the show that I think is really good.
Right. Mm.
But I don't really care for any of the characters, and it took a little bit too long to get to that midway point.
Right.
I like the direction. I like the
Mhm.
concept of the series. I just don't think that the people in it are particularly worth caring about, whether they're like jumping through time or dying or just spouting off weird catchphrases or being perverted uh, weirdos. I don't know. Like
Yep.
whatever it is they're doing, I don't. There's not much to keep me connected to them.
All right.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say Monogatari series probably number one in terms of the one that I hate the most, and
Right.
Oregairu second.
All right. That's the two light novel shows, like the two popular light novel shows. So I can see where you come from.
Okay, how about you do the same for me?
All right. I would say I have the pattern as well. So you did like you don't like the light novels adaptation shows. I would say that out of your top 50 list, the two shows that I uh don't enjoy the most. I mean like I enjoy them, but I don't think them they are as like the tier that in the top 50. I had the two show from Kyoto Animations.
Uh, so you're talking about Kobayashi-san Shino Maid Dragon,
Mm-hmm.
and what's the other one? What's the other one? I'm lost. Hibiki Euphonium? I mean,
No.
that's on your list. Oh, Keon.
Right. Yeah, chaos.
Yeah.
I understand why you like it though. I think I have a good time watching the both two shows. I just don't think that it had the ambitions. I don't think it have
Well,
the
yeah. It's not that ambitious, I guess.
yeah the chop
Well,
basically to make it in the top 50.
whether or not a show is good isn't down strictly to its ambition. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, I understand what you mean. And basically like if you look at my list, I tend to pick the show that have a lot of ambitions. So I think
Yes.
that's just like one of my criterias
Yeah, your
for
list looks more like you just take you're falling more on like the artsy high concept side of
yeah.
things. My list
Um
reflects a little
yeah,
bit more of like the
that's right.
populist entertainment type of things. Like I have Haikyuu on this list for God's sake. Uh, that's
Well,
that's
it's a good show.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it is, but it's pretty damn mainstream. Um, which is
Right.
fine, It's my list is not based on whether
It
something is like whether critics love it or whether Joe Schmo loves
well
it.
I
It's about whether I love
yeah,
it.
I that's right. I think it's more to the fact that I'm more blown away for the show that have like great ambitions. So
Uh,
I just oh my god, I
right.
like it.
Yeah.
Like,
Whereas me, when a show is very ambitious, I tend to think of them as like being at risk of collapsing under their own weight.
that that is true with a lot of shows. Like we just talked about Yuri Kuma Arashi, for example.
Yeah. I mean that show's kind of small and compact. I don't know if that one necessarily falls over in the same way that like Concrete Revolutio does.
Right, right, right.
But yeah, I mean Yurikuma definitely a high concept series. Like if you look at my top, let's look at the top 15. Let's say, how many of
Right.
these shows are like fantastical? Space Dandy would
All
be
right.
one.
From the
Mushi,
newer.
yeah.
Oh, right. Go up,
From
go up. People
yeah.
from the animation, I would say is
No,
fantastical. Is
I'm
that what you mean?
no. I'm talking about like set in another world on another planet,
Oh, fantasy.
in
Yeah.
the
All
in the
right.
future, like science fiction, fantasy, that sort of thing.
All right. Spade Dandy.
Yeah,
Would you count Suritama?
yeah, definitely because of the entire
The
alien
alien guide.
subplot or plot. That becomes the main
Right.
plot.
Yep. Hunter x Hunter,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Well, I would say Hunter x Hunter from the New World. It's got people with psychic
Oh, from the
powers.
new world. That's right. Yep.
Um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and Tsuritama, and then Mushishi, I would say, because
Yeah, the concept of the Mushi.
yeah, and also Space Dandy. So I would say five.
Yep.
Whereas
Alright,
if
what
we
is your
if
point?
we if we look at your list, we've got Humanity Has Declined,
All
which has
right.
fairies in it. Flip Flappers,
Yep.
for obvious
Yep.
reasons. Steins Gate has time travel.
Yep.
Penguin Drum has like weird,
Penguin.
yeah, weird alternate dimensions and timelines and like a war going on between two supernatural godlike characters,
Yep.
which doesn't become clear until the very end. Um,
Yep.
the eccentric
Eccentric
family
family.
is obviously a fantasy. Like the
Yep.
show, that show more than most others, like presents itself as a sort of heightened reality or a fantasy, kind of in a
All right.
novelistic way. Uh,
Hoseki no
Hoseki no
Kuni.
Kuni, definitely. Hunter x Hunter,
All
Mushishi
right.
at the top. Monogatari series, even. Like a lot of the show is based around mundane interactions between
All right.
people. But what do those people have? They have like superpowers. There's
I would
vampires
I
and
would
stuff.
differ. I would differ with you in regarding the definition of fantasy though. For me, fantasy is more like high fantasy. So
Well,
it's more
I
like
did say like fantastical at the start of all this.
yep,
Like
that's right. So the
just
show that I love though is more like I think they have like the term for that is like realism magicals.
yeah,
So it's more
that's a sort of
like
fantasy.
yep. It is like it's set. It is still set in a present time, like the world that we know, and then it have like some fantastical stuff. So yeah. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
tend to lean away from
I'm
that sort of
more
thing.
prefer those. Yep, right. Because this is sort of sort of the thing that I prefer to watch. So
Right.
yeah, that's one of the thing that we differ. I think.
Yeah. Like I have Genga E Kickoff at number
Yep.
15. That's literally just a kid show about
All right.
soccer, you know.
You
Like
have Rilakuma.
yeah, well Rilakuma is that one's a little bit interesting because it's there's nothing really fantastical about it except the bear is alive. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but there's kind of a question as you watch the show of like how much of that is in her head and how much of it is real.
Mm-hmm.
There's a small aspect of that to the series, and also the bear is based on a mascot of a real world company. Like Rilakuma was intended as a product that company was putting out, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that show is like right on the line for me.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean in that show is in large part very mundane. Like she goes to work in an office, you know, she
Mm.
she comes home and is like, "Oh, I want to quit my job." Blah blah blah. I'm really selling this show short right now. It's really quite good. It's it's very beautiful looking as well.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, but yeah, I think that's one difference between our taste
Yep.
in anime.
Interesting. Oh, right. One other thing that I changed, I will go quickly, is Chihara that I watched this current season and I just realized that how much I love all the characters, how many times that it's make me like tears while watching it. And it just I just realized that it just sort of like the emotion that I don't get very often watching anime.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think
Right.
season 3 is starting off strong. I don't know if we were supposed to include that, because it's not going to finish this year, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's for like all these, or for the strength of the season 1 and 2 as well.
Okay. Yeah. If you really like season 3, still got the attachment to the characters. That's
Right.
coming from the earlier stuff.
Yep. All right. What next we're gonna do
I think we can I
is
think we can skip over the tiebreaker part in the interest of time and just start talking about
yep.
the top 30. You think that's good or
All right. Yeah. Yep. Let's do that.
all
Making
right.
comment also as we go. So
Want to
we
start with
just
number
go
30?
back from 30. All right. I'm gonna start. You're gonna start first because this is your show.
Yeah, I think we can just trade off, and then we can both talk about a show if we want, but we just have to keep it really
Yep.
short.
Yep. All right.
All right.
All right.
So Silver Spoon is number 30. Honestly, I think this is probably going to move into my top 10 eventually. It's number 11 right now.
Wow. Yep.
It's it's just a really, really good coming of age story. It doesn't do anything fancy visually, or in terms of like its scripting or like the layout of the story. Um, but it's fun, you know. The
Yep.
the sorts of questions that Hachiman is forced to ask himself as well. Really love those.
Yep.
The way that he sees his friends, like families struggling and their farms collapsing around him, especially in season 2. It deals with some pretty heavy stuff, um,
Yep.
but it it keeps things moving in terms of the way that his character learns and changes. So love that show.
Yep. I must say that I never have no time watching Silver Spoon. It's really watchable from start to finish. It sort of remind me of Bakuman for some reason.
Bakuman,
Not
really? Okay.
Yeah, not because of the subject matter, but because of like the manga can just know about this world and pretty good at the pacing. That's for me. The pacing is like just enjoy like every single episode of that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Next is my show, which is Gate. I think it's like the show have like one of the very good, very great uh depiction of time traveling. Um, when the show get away from it visual novel trope, it really good. Most of the time, though, especially like in the beginning, it stick with the visual novel tropes, and the character that's make the character suffers. But yeah, like I think like when we get into the main point, which is like in episode 8 or 9, like from that point, it's constantly really regret.
Right. Uh, I just don't feel the same way, I guess.
Right. Uh,
The main character descending into madness.
mhm.
I thought it was interesting, but I wasn't involved by it. And also
Yep.
the main strike that I have against the series, I think, is that like when he kind of merges the timelines by uh, like faking there's like a
Yep.
stabbing in episode 1 or like a death, you know, and
Right.
he kind of makes that happen in his own timeline in order to kind
Yep.
of reconcile the two, I guess. It
Yep.
involves Kurisu, you know, Christina as he calls her.
Mhm.
That I think
Yep.
was supposed to be like a mind blowing moment that he was able to kind of fix things that way. That he was able to kind of arrange
Yep.
things to merge the two timelines or to whatever it
Yep.
was, like technically or scientifically that he did at the end there. I think that was supposed to
Yep.
blow people away, and I just like shrugged my shoulders when that happened. So that is just a sign to me that I didn't really
Yep.
care that much about Okabe or Christina or
Yep.
Tuturu or any of the other
The
characters.
whole.
Yeah,
Yep. That's right. All
but
right. Next
obviously,
one.
very popular show. You know.
It is. All right. Next one. I'm gonna start with that. The next one is in number 28 is Flip Flappers, which is the show about magical girls.
Yeah,
They have the all the transforming stuff. I really love the ambition again. I really love the animation, the way that this show rely mostly on visual than the actual storytelling. And this is like one of the show that I just cry so much about when I was blocking it, because it had like all the symbolism, and it just blow me away like episode after episode. So it have like a very specific place in my heart.
very good. Well, you know, in out of respect for your love for the series, I'm not going to say too many negative things about it. You know,
Alright.
I'll say what I agree with out of what you just said.
Alright.
The animation is great. The art is great.
Yeah.
And that is the extent of the respect that I have for Flip Flappers. Just the visuals,
Right.
basically. I think it's a great looking show.
Mhm. Do you like the first half or the second half better?
I actually like the second half more than most people
Right.
do. No,
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I like the second half more overall, but I like it more than I think a lot of people do. A lot of people think that
Yep.
the wheels fell off in the second half, you know.
Mm, mm,
But I kind of liked. I mean, a lot of the reason that I kind of liked it is because there were a lot of Evangelion references, like a ton.
all right.
So I
Yep.
enjoyed those parallels, and like the nature of the organization that they were working for, and the history of it,
Mm,
the
yep.
relationships that the scientists had that impacted the way that things moved forward. Um,
Mm,
that's very Evangelion-esque. So I like that. Um,
right.
but I think even in the first half and in the second half, I thought there were elements that didn't really work for me.
Right.
So I'll do
All right.
27, which is Mob
Yep.
Psycho 100. We got to start moving through these pretty fast, I think.
Right.
Mob Psycho for me is on here basically for the visuals. The story is good enough. Um,
Mm,
Mob, like the sorts of decisions he has to make as such a powerful character, about how
mm,
to treat people, very interesting. You know that he still treats people with kindness, and that he balances
mm,
his abilities with respect for others. But it's mostly just the Sakuga,
mm,
man. The design work, all of it. I love it.
yep. All right. For me, not even the visual, but the story have some pretty good stuff going on. It just the show suffer when it go into like the act where like it go into more of the general shonen stuff. But other than that, it's a good show. Some very emotional moment and just a really great animation overall.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Next one is Space Battleship Yamato 2199. I just feel the epic of like the whole thing that the show have. That's a lot of interesting question as well. Um, a really solid show from start to finish for me.
Um, okay, a solid start from start to finish. We were just talking about Silver Spoon and how like there's like
All right.
never really a dull episode. You can keep
Yep.
watching, and for me, Space Battleship Yamato was not that way. This was a series of highs and
Right.
lows when I rewatched it. Um,
Mm,
so I think there are some dull moments there. However, you said it was epic. I think I can
right.
agree with that. I don't really like that word, but I think I can agree with it.
Mm,
Just because they're tasked with saving humanity,
right.
you know. Um, and that
Mm,
story alone, the way that they carry it out, is pretty amazing. Um,
mm.
I guess I'll just leave it there.
All right. Let's go
Princess
to the next
Jellyfish
one.
is number 25. I like this show for its sense of humor, for the
Right.
characters through which that humor is conveyed. They're all like
Mm,
really strange, obsessed people in their own way. Um, and the main character is she's great. The she's hung up on the passing of her mother,
mm,
and the way that manifests itself in her like jellyfish otakudom, as well as the difficulty that she has in like forming relationships with people,
mm,
is really gratifying. I think to watch, in terms of how she like gets over it through the support of the people at her boarding house, and through the relationship that she forms with Kyonosuke. I think that's his name.
mm.
And the show, like even as the show goes to more dramatic places, it always keeps it funny, which I
Right.
like.
All right. If I have like one criticism for this that show in general, it just that it ended too quickly. But with just
Yeah,
11 episodes, so like the last two episodes, they have to rush a lot of material. But other than that, though, the main characters, for example, she is a very great, good written characters, well written characters. We see like all her insecure and how she try to like improve herself and like taking something that in her hobby into like make some effort to make things happen, to do what she like. So it's a really good show and even a good romance show.
hmm.
All right, next one as number 24 is my show Monogatari series. It's a show that still I just struggle to understand why this it becomes so popular because it's either so of extreme. We have like the extreme visual by stuff.
Boobs.
We have boobs. We have like
That's why it's so
extreme
popular.
fan service. You know, it's especially at like it first few acts, and we have like a lot of talking into the show and violence as well. But for many for some reason like it work. It just it have a lot of act and only acts manage to develop the main cast and to the to the very end to the satisfying conclusion. So it is the full package for me,
All right. I'm gonna pass on this one.
right?
Number 23,
All right.
Wandering Sun. This show just sneaks onto the list for me.
Mhm.
It's, you know, I love the art style. The watercolor visuals, the way that the characters mesh with the backgrounds, like the composition there is maybe my favorite of any show this decade.
Well, right.
Mob Psycho probably on a similar level, but the compositions were really good.
Mhm.
The characters are pretty well realized. I would say that the things that
Mhm.
they go through, their stories, and some of their family histories, are more intriguing than the people themselves. Um,
Mhm.
and the themes of the show obviously somewhat daring, especially for the early 2010s. This is not the sort of thing you typically see in anime, so it gets a few points for that.
Mhm.
Um, I also really like scenes where a lot of characters are interacting together. It keeps
Mhm.
the animation lively. The voice work is like the approach to voice work is very cool. A lot of
Mhm.
voices going kind of mingling together and um, threading in and out, like conversations happening the way they're recorded, the way they're laid out. Very nice.
Mhm. All right. For me though, just watch the latest episodes of Hoshia no Shora about like they coming to term of their old sexual of their old gender.
Yeah.
Remind me a lot of Wandering Sun, but
Eh.
not for good reason because I feel like Hoshia no Shora just just the characters just feel too clear about like he she they don't know what they want to become. They feel too clear about that, whereas in Wandering Sun, like the whole core that we watch, the characters just trying to come to term with that, and
Yeah.
that is what the real coming of age story be. So it's just for me like the moment when the main character decide to co-trace into school is one of the my most the most powerful moment that I've seen in this decade. So it's hold a lot to me.
All right.
All right, the next one is Hibike Euphoniums, which is for me like the classic Kyoto animation in this late decade, not Violet Evergarden. This one. Um, there's just the production values on this one, like any of others show from Kyoto Animation, is insane. And add to that, we have like the whole cast of characters are likable. Kumiko for the second season had grown a lot as well. Uh, love all the characters basically. At one point, like watching the second season, I was in Kyoto at the time. So watching that show, going to the place where the hill where they at, Kumiko and Red Rena, enjoy the scenery, and you know it just like one of my favorite anime moment ever. My personal favorite anime moment.
Oh, okay. The
All
scene
right,
in episode
to
8.
you.
where they're up
Yep,
on
the scene
the
the episode.
yeah
So I went up there as well, like in
yeah
real life.
yeah. Um, Hibiki Euphonium. I I do really like the first season. I've
Right.
seen it multiple times. I think I've seen it twice on my own, and then I also watched it with my brother. So I've seen
Mm.
it 3 times, probably more than most shows on this list. Um,
Wow.
Kumiko's role as an observer, I think, is really interesting in the first season because you can
Yep.
sense that she wants to improve and she wants to like break into the club in a more meaningful way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not just about her. There's Reina to consider. There's the upperclassmen and kind of the hints of the conflict. I think the hints of conflict between the upperclassmen in the first season are more interesting than the details that we get in season 2. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just was not a big fan of the second season, I guess. But that first season has a lot of really stellar performances in it, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the general mood of the group, the orchestra, and their desire to make it on a bigger stage is that desire is what's interesting to me, not when they eventually get there.
Yep.
So like just
Right.
the sense of youth that the show has, I suppose, like the sense of possibility and potential that it has
Youth.
is what's
All
interesting.
right. I remember you have that word, youth.
Yeah, I did bust it out here.
Right.
21
Uh,
is Made in Abyss. Obviously the show looks great.
mm-hmm.
Obviously it puts its young characters through the ringer in a kind of a Madoka-esque way. Um,
Yep.
like they're going through some really difficult physical and emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a catharsis at the very end with the story of Mitty, and obviously what happens there is quite sad, but at the same time, it allows the characters to grieve and move on. So I think
Mm-hmm.
the story is, despite the fact that it only tells the first leg of the story, which is ongoing in manga form, and will have a movie follow
Yep.
up very soon, it still feels
Mm-hmm.
very complete. I think maybe that's the most admirable thing that Made in Abyss has going for it, is that the story feels complete even though there's more to tell. Um,
Right.
so the way it balances those two things is pretty cool to me.
Yep. For me, Make in Abyss is in true sense an adventure show because it have like all the thrill of adventure finding the new place, looking at like new characters and new species, and not even that. It's like it's bring out all the dangerous from from the unknown as well. So the show production do it very purposely with like it verticality approach like all that, and I like the cruelty of of our characters because they have go through some of very serious shit,
Yeah.
but at the same time it have like all these strong moments that like that really stay with me, especially the last episodes.
hmm
You was about to say something, no?
No, just waiting for
All
number
right.
20.
All right, so at number 20 is Humanity Has Declined, which for me personally, this one and Need to Choose are like the best comedy show of the decade for me. This one have an edge for not only funny but also have a lot to say about this current our real world within the context of like fairies and the world where the humanity has declined. Also, I love the main character so much. I just love her way of taking advantage, just lazy in around and trying to clean up the mess that the fairy uh the all the mess the fairy does. One thing though, I think that it is not very friendly for first viewers because the story just totally backwards,
Right.
out of time, but out ordered. but other than that, if you get through like the first few episodes, I think you will enjoy the show better. All right.
I like Humanity Has Declined. It's the lowest ranking show for me on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that it's not good. You know, it is good. What I like most about it is probably just how absurd it is.
How was
Yeah,
it?
how absurd it is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just the elements of parody, that link it to our current way of life. You know, in 2019, 2012, when the show came out. But I think some of the comments that it makes about people's like willful ignorance of what's best for them and what's best for their neighbors, their environment, whatever the case may be. Like they'll willingly put those things to the side in order to improve their own situation. I think the show reflects that in a bizarre way. It's kind of fun to think about, you know, after you've seen the episode. The fact that it's told in backwards order is okay. I don't really think it adds that much to the show, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
It kind of drives people away. The art style is a mixed bag for me.
Oh, right.
Mostly, I just think that the show is bizarre, very creative, and I like it for that. Next is Chihaya. We talked about it a little bit already. Great cast of characters. The show does not simply bury its head in the sand and focus on like just one or two people. You know, all the opponents that Chihaya and company meet along the way, they continue to recur, and it kind of builds a big Karuta family that the show can pull from in creating like future plots and arranging future tournaments. So really like the cast of the show.
Yeah. All right. I think you also know that what I thought on Chihaya Furu on the weekly basis, so I'm gonna skip that and just go straight to number 18 with Shiki.
Okay.
Shiki is just a magnificent show. It take its time. It's a slow burn show, really slow burn, but I think the way it paid off when like the story kick in, and it said a lot about what it means to be humanity, and what it means also to be the conflict between the old and the new, because like all the people who transform into vampire, they're actually more free than the people than the villagers. So it asks a lot of questions. It asks a lot of ambitious questions that we that we can have like a food for thought.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the sorts of questions that Shiki asks have been posed before in this sort of fantasy, like vampire fiction specifically, but any sort of like multi-race, I guess, or multi-species, I should say,
Yep.
like conflict. So it does pose some interesting questions to think about. It takes a while before it does. You know, the show's first few episodes are mostly establishing a location and a mood, and there's ridiculous anime hair in it, and there's like plenty of reasons not to continue with it, which I did not originally. You know, I was like, man,
Yep.
this looks gross and so boring and slow. But eventually, I got to the part where it becomes a full blown thriller, and that's just really what I love about it, is like the sense of dread that hangs
Right.
over it and like starts to take over the entire series as it goes on. It's a horror series. It's one of the only good ones that anime has going.
Yep.
So let's do 17, I guess. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. This show is just really fun. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
The characters are like gigantic muscled man children who end up somehow with the fate of the world on their shoulders. And the way that they react to that is really entertaining.
Yep.
Dio is a great villain, and so are the Pillar Men. Like the culture, the way of life, and the philosophy of the Pillar Men that they respect like only strength, is quite interesting for a shonen series, because JoJo eventually attains that strength, and they each view him differently. Some of them come to respect him. Some of them hate him for potentially surpassing them. I think there's a lot of character to not just the people in the show, but the show itself. Really creative and strange and wacky use of color. The soundtrack is just full of groovy tunes. It's a lot of fun.
Yep. One thing I can just say about JoJo Bizarre Adventure is ridiculous and on the best. Like all, I mean that in like all the best possible way. That's all.
All right.
Next one, number 16 is Mawaru Penguin Room. I think this is one of like Ikuhara most ambitious project out of this decade, and it have like many it have a good underlying theme and emotional resonance of like the two boy trying to save his sisters, and it built up from there. I love only visualism the show have. It is messy. Sometimes this go nowhere, but most of the time for me it's work. So really love like all the thing that Ikuhara trying to put in there.
I would say that Penguin Drum has a lot of great episodes and a lot of bad ones, and the great ones don't even necessarily outnumber the bad ones for me. It's not as though I'm weighing them on a scale, and what's nice about the show, what's good about it, outweighs what I don't like about it. I don't even view it in those terms. I just think that what the show is able to achieve in some specific moments is incredible, and it's on my list for that reason. Not because I love the way the story turned out. I think it wrapped up pretty well, but the path that it took to get there is like confusing and strange, and just like it's like a roller coaster where you're not where there's no harness. You're just kind of like holding on.
Right.
That's not good, in my opinion. But some of the moments that it's able to create are really stunning.
Right. Next one.
Yeah, After the Rain at 15. This show just looks really beautiful, like at all times, except for the one episode that I think was outsourced. But like what Studio Wit did, like hiring a makeup artist, to touch up some scenes, the like setting scenes at specific times of day in order to like bathe them in certain colors. There's like a sense of nostalgia about it, and like a romanticism about it. Not necessarily like a romance, but like the show is romantic in the way that it like emphasizes the emotions of the characters. It's really nice, really nice series. It gives you a really deep look into the minds of the characters, not just in terms of their relationship to one another, the two leads, but also the sort of lives that they're living, like where they're at different points in their lives and how they got there, how they feel about it, what they plan to do moving forward. Good character piece.
All right. Yep. With the running time though, I would suggest that we just do like one person with one show at a time.
Okay. Do you want to move straight
right?
to Katanagatari or Maho Shoujo?
Yep. So I'm gonna move straight to number 14 with Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica.
Yeah. All right.
One of the I think it stand the test of time. This show. If you have all these quality that you would expect from Shin Urobuchi and all the best quality that you would expect from Sharp when they do the animation. The story itself wrap up quite nicely with just 11 episodes.
12.
12 episodes. And for me, this is one of the like the show that done right when they like they are trying to
Huh?
push the character into test.
Huh?
Can you hear me?
I
Can
can
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
I wasn't sure what that last sentence was, what was going
All
on
right.
there.
I just said like this is one of the show that like it had the merits that they trying to make it cool for the characters. Um, so this is a great show.
All right. Number 13 is Tsuki ga Kirei. It's the best romance anime of the decade. Um,
True.
um, it doesn't really put a foot out of place in terms of its story. I think the first episode's a
Yeah.
little weak, but everything after that is great. The anxieties of the characters and their commitments in real life are nicely balanced with like the more sentimental, like sappier moments. Um, didn't quite pull it off on a visual level, CG uh, characters, the students, the red shirts, I guess, in the hallways, not too great looking. Um, Also, the characters themselves, not always super well animated, but I think it put in the effort when it mattered most and when it counted.
Act style remind you of Wandering Sun?
It does, but not really. I mean, a lot of shows have gone for that kind of white tinted, kind of soft focus look.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it nearly as well as Wandering Sun does. Like that show's in a class of its own when it comes to that sort of thing.
Right. All right. At number 12 is Katanagatari. I just love the act style of Katanagatari, which is for me like one of my favorite act style for the whole decade. Add to that, like the story is conclusive by its own episodes, and it's all add up into for me a really neat ending that tie up everything. Um, yep, that's it.
Nice. From the New World, number 11.
Nah, yep, sorry, yep,
Um,
yep.
it's a really imaginative work of speculative fiction, which is why I love it. I don't think the characters are that great. I don't think the visuals are that great. The story and I talked about Shiki's the sense of dread that kind of hangs over Shiki. From the New World kind of has that, but it's really more the limitless possibility of a world where human psychic powers leak into like the environment around them and cause mutations, and it's set 1,000 years in the future, and there's like mantras that they chant in order to it's so creative, like, and I don't mean creativity in terms of like small flourishes of great ideas that pop up from episode to episode. I mean like the DNA of the show is just unbelievably imaginative. So there's always something new to learn watching it, I think, about the world that the show constructs for itself.
Right.
Great ending as well.
Just about to say that the ending is like one of my favorite ending of this decade, which tie up everything, which asks a lot more, interesting questions. Just a really good show. A show that do you actually enjoy it the first time you watch it?
I dropped it the first time I tried to watch it.
Yep. Because I think this is one of the show where you kind of have to endure it while you watch it, but like it just paid off, and it just keep getting better the more you think about it.
Yeah, it definitely leaves a strong impression.
Right. All right. So at number 10, so we are going to the top 10 now. At number 10 is Hunter x Hunter. A really good shonen show, a very great shonen show. They have many acts. For me, my favorite act would be the Phantom Truth. A lot of great characters. a lot of like plot point where it's go against with its like certain jobs. A lot of emotionals from many of the scene as well. One of one of the scene from the last act that make me tear up like multiple times yesterday. So really, um, overall, this is like what shonen show should be. Creative, different. The act are all different from one another, and all build up to a great conclusions.
Okay, number 9, Tsuritama, my favorite color design in anime
Mm-hmm.
this decade, at least in terms of
Yeah.
TV. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the theme of friendship between the four boys is really, I think it's amazing. Given what all of them are dealing with, like their different backgrounds. One of them is an alien. One of them works for like an alien monitoring organization. You know, one of them comes from a broken family. One of them deals with social anxiety. Like they're all so different, and their designs are all so distinct that when fishing brings them together, and then they eventually have to use that skill that they've developed in order to save the world, uh, with the mythology that kicks in the second half. Um, the bond that they've formed carries the show through. It's
Mm-hmm.
like so integral to everything that happens in the series. So I love it for
Yep.
that reason.
Right. At number 8 is Usagi Drop, which is like one of the best, the most realistic depiction of parenting that I seen in anime. Add to that, we have like two of the most likable, so huggable characters, and their chemistry from each other is like top notch. I love the perspective of the main guy, which is I come from that age as well, so I can feel on his anxiety or of his like freaking out for like every small little things when it come to his daughter, adopted daughter. So yeah, Usagi Drove has something to say about parenting.
Number 7, Shirobako. It's an anime about anime, and it's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it strikes a nice balance between optimism and like the production hell and the difficulty and the
Mm-hmm.
stress that can come with working in the anime industry, because it's obviously, given the exposure that we've had as a Western audience to the sort of practices that the anime industry is grappling with, even still, has opened a lot of people's eyes. But Shirobako did it first, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really interesting for that reason. I think the cast of characters, the way that it grows over time, when you meet people from other departments and from other studios, is really interesting. I love a lot of the shout outs to real life figures in anime. Like Hideaki Anno appears in the show under a different name.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that, obviously, because I'm an Ava geek. Um,
Yep.
and I think that the stories of all 5 girls, obviously not all of them receive equal screen time,
Mm-hmm.
but there are there are real concerns and real passions that are present in all 5 of them. So love the characters and love the show.
Right. At number 6 is Spy Dandy, which is for me what truly mean is creative. What you truly mean by creative. This is the show that like one director take an episode at a time and just like go crazy with that, and we can see that in every episodes. The second season was better than the first one, and it produced like a string of really impressive episodes, and it's just a sense of fun and a sense of adventures while watching Space Dandy. uh you you feel like you've been entertaining all the time.
Yeah. Sangatsu no Lion is 5th. This is a show that I'm kind of surprised to see this high up here. Although I did move it into my top 10. So
Mm.
I guess we're both to blame. Uh, the,
Well,
I don't know if I would say the show is great, even though it's at number 5 on this list. I don't think that
right,
every arc is as good as the last. I don't think every character is as well realized or focused on as the last. But
right,
I do think that the show creates a meaningful depiction of what it means to be a young man who struggles with depression and who struggles to be a competitor in a very difficult field, and who eventually is able to overcome those things, at least in part, in order to create a family for himself, not only with the Kawamoto sisters, but also with his, all his friends in the shogi world. I think the pace at which he starts to emerge from his shell is great. One of the best things that the show has going for it, because it takes a long time, and at some points it's an agonizing process. But he does get there eventually, and that's very gratifying.
all right. Since we have talked about our number four Tatami Galaxy, so I would spend some of the time to talk more about Sangetsu no Lion and why I put that so high on my list. For me, Sangetsu no Lions have like one of the best written like character writing in anime this decade. When I think about like almost all of the characters, I feel like the depth of them, like what they're going through, what they're trying to achieve, what their like struggle, what is their pain, and like they feel just like real people to me. And not only that, but like all the relationship they have for each other, they spark like different chemistry. They that like it's just so vivid. It's just like real life. So uh that's like one of the one of the reason for me that I feel that these characters are really close to me, like just the friends that I know from from real life.
All right.
All right, ping pong the animation. You like to do that?
To Tommy Galaxy, we'll pass over for right now. That's number
Yep.
4. Ping
Yep.
Pong is number 3. This is my favorite anime of the decade. It is. I'm lost for words, dude. I can't talk about it for just 1 minute. The symbolism. I should focus on that, I suppose.
All
All
right.
the symbols that the show makes use of are are wonderful. The lilies um, that are given to Dragon by his cousin, and what they represent in terms of his father, like the way his father died. Uh, the butterfly motif, obviously, the robot, the Game Boy that Smile is constantly carrying around, the plane that Wenge always looks up at in the sky, as he feels like the potential for his return to China, like slipping away from him as people are exceeding him in table tennis. Um, my God, dude, I'm probably missing so many. Like the way that the show the it creates characters that are so lifelike, and then associates symbols with them so
Mhm.
strongly that when you see those symbols later in the show, you have an emotional reaction.
Mhm.
Uh, that's that's so difficult to do. Like, I
Yeah.
just respect the hell out of the show for being able to like make you look at uh, a plane on on screen and like tear up because
Mhm.
of what it managed to do with Wenge's character throughout the series, and how it attached the plane to his journey.
Mhm.
I'm awestruck whenever I think about this series.
For good reasons. All right. At number two is Sowa Genroku Rakugo Shinchu, which is for me the act of the storytelling itself. This this will tell you like the story of how Rakugo grows, and just like just basically it just tell you the story elegantly, about the act of the storytelling itself, and it kind of like the mature, like maturity that you don't see very often in anime. So it's have like all the quality, and like the performance of the Rakugo itself, the direction of it, and the voice performance are just like out of this world. It's just so good.
It's true.
All right.
Number one is Mushishi. I don't think that every episode of Mushishi is a masterpiece, but I think it probably has the highest ratio of like god tier episodes. More than, well, obviously I'm biased because Ping Pong's my favorite, but Mushishi has the way that the series is structured, the way it's set up, gives it so much freedom. Not only in just the fact that it has one central character who moves between different locations, but the idea of Mushi itself, they can be anything. They can appear anywhere. They have limitless possibility for like action and impact that they can have on the environment. And the fact, I mean, all of that is great in itself, but the fact that the show was able to, obviously the manga came first, but the show used that sense of possibility to the fullest. Not it because it's not focused on like the supernatural aspect of it or the healing aspect of it, or it doesn't even get that bogged down in its artistry, like visually. The backgrounds are great, but I think it keeps people at the center. Ginkgo is always learning about the people who he meets in these new places that he travels to, and he gets involved in their lives, and it becomes a very human story, despite the fantastical nature kind of Mushi, and the fact that it's set in the past. It feels very contemporary because all the stories that it tells and all the emotions that the characters feel, we can feel in our everyday lives.
Yep.
And
So
that's our top 30.
Let's conclude our top 30. Personally, I'm quite happy with the list.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Yep. I think you have like a Sagetsu no Lion is a bit too high on the list.
I kind of feel that way. Yeah, I mean, but it's way above. It's 6 points above Space Dandy, which is a lot. We the top 5 shows in our list, we both put in the top 10.
Right. That's interesting because like my 6 to 10, the our choice 6 to 10 is not on my top 10.
Yeah. All 5. Well, that's not true. Ping Pong is your number 9.
All right. So where's Ping Pong? Ping Pong is number 3. I mean,
No.
like from the 6 to 10.
Oh, I see.
Our choice list.
I see.
It's
Yeah.
not on my top 10, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, the joint top 10 for the decade is 9 of them are in my top 10.
Right.
Feels good, man.
So it's more, it's more going your way than my way, but
Yes,
I can live with that.
definitely. I mean, you do have more shows on the list overall,
Right.
so that's kind of the trade-off, I guess. Because the ones that I put near the top are ones that we agree on.
Yep.
The ones that you
That's-
put sort of like some of the ones that you have at the top, we don't agree on, but you're able to throw some weight in their direction.
Right. All right. Let's see if we have anything else. No,
On the
I think-
outline, there's an outro, but I think we could probably skip that.
Right.
We're running out of time.
Yep. All right. So that is our top 30 list. If you listen to this far into the podcast, tell us what you think about our top 30 list, and you can also give a comment of your top 20, 30s of anime of the decade of yours as well.
Yeah, I love reading lists like this. You know, I've been checking out some of the ones that people have been posting on their websites, blogs, etc. And I always get I like seeing stuff that isn't on most people's lists. You know, where did they put it? What kind of blurb did they write about it, or what did they say
Right.
about it? You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's fun. So if you hear this somehow, uh,
Yep.
throw your list down there. We'll make a comment on it.
Right. All right. Have fun, and we will see you again next week.
Enjoy the 2020s.